it's a metal bro. Mental meltdown, gaming in flames. Chris and Henrik bringing the thunderous rage. Video games and viral content. Barricades, ripping through pixels, the ultimate game to get around. The ultimate. Rave over, I'm feeling the rage. Chris Collins and HenricK on the stage. Talking gaming news, industry that can't escape. We're reviewing video games, no need to debate. They bring the heat, spin truth non-stop with fiery words. They're ready to drop, making waves in the world of video games. Collins and HenricK, they don't play no games. From console wars to DLC scams, they expose it all, making sure no one jails. The audience fired up, ready to explode. When rage quits on, you know it's a code. You know it's a code. When rage quits on, you know it's a code. Rage quits. Rage quits. I'm losing my mind. Chris and Henrik, they're talking gaming all the time. Rage quits. Rage quits. It's a love-hate affair, but I keep coming back. Ain't nothing else to compare. Rage quits. It's a love-hate affair.
What's raging, gamers? Welcome to Rage Quit Video Game Talk Show. How you doing, HenricK the Wreck?
It's Wednesday. I'm here. I'm ready to rage, and we got a good one like always. Don't you think, Chris?
Yes, we do. We have a lot to unfold on this jam-packed show that we call Rage Quit, and we can't thank you, the gamers, for always tuning in live every Wednesday night at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, because without your support, gamers, this show would not be possible. And we just want to do a quick shout-out of our YouTube channel, so this QR code will lead you directly to mine. Go ahead and hit the notification bell so you never miss a live show.
And you see this QR code here, you should know where that goes by now. That goes to my YouTube channel, where there's tons of content just waiting to be watched. So go watch some videos and let me know how they are.
That's right. And we always like to start off the show with a bang and show you guys a lot of viral content that is circulating all across the World Wide Web. So let's get it. Marvel Rivals just turned into a reality show when a $40,000 tournament match went sideways over lag, character swaps, and one player reminding everyone his college tuition was on the line. And so you can see with this this grand Creator Cup, this all started when a suggestion from a teammate snowballed into a toxic report, a captain hitting the eject button, and one player getting booted like an unwanted patch note. And so, gamers, who's in the wrong here? The player asking for a swap or the team that hit the nuclear button? So go ahead and let's check out the clip and you be the judge yourself.
You may not want the money, but I do, okay? I really want to win. I need money for college, I need money for everything. And I want to try my hardest to get the right composition.
For real, bro, the next time I bring up this topic, I will use you, bro. It's not happening this game. Maybe we consider it again, but like, I don't think so.
Okay, guys. Pace and point proven right now. Do you understand?
No, it's
Well,
not.
you've been making
Yes,
me
it
play
is!
difficult, and I'm gonna
How
play.
do you not see the problem right now?
Where are people like this guy in my ranked matches? Because I feel
Yeah,
like
right.
everyone just kind of like, they walk in, they're like, yeah, here's another ranked match. All
Dude,
right, we lost.
You are not lying about that. That is always the most infuriating thing when you're playing any kind of style ranked match. And it's like, why are we in a team mode and you're drifting off into the abyss? Like, what are we doing here? Especially when there's money on the line. And then lag is kind of an interesting thing because I'm bitching about someone going too far away from the group. But yeah, you know, that's a real thing, right, Henry?
And, you know, 40,000 is not a small amount of money, even if you're splitting it between the teammates. Like, that's a good amount of money. So,
But is that a definite requirement, a vibe check? I guess that's where we have to dive into the comments and see what everybody else is
you gotta
saying.
bring the right energy, Chris, you know, to that sort of tournament.
Well, clearly the first comment is 0 for 5 and refusing to switch is wild. So yeah, I mean, when you're losing 5 games in a row, and obviously, you know, when there's certain games we all like our go-to character, maybe the person isn't good with anybody else. And when lag comes into effect, maybe they're not the right teammate to bring in for a $40,000 tournament.
That's the thing, yeah. It's like if you're a one-trick and that one-trick character is not working, maybe you're not fit to be on the team. I'm sorry to say.
Yeah, it really does seem like that, HenricK. And then the next comment reads, mind you, this guy needed it for his college tuition, and he was the only person actually trying for a $40,000 tournament, and then he kicked him because he ruined the vibe? I mean, you got to have good chemistry, and if everybody's like downplaying each other, talking over each other, and just talking shit, right? How are you ever going to be focused on the objective?
And, you know, I get it. You know, the guy is coming off like he's really aggressive towards his teammates, you know, and if they don't take that nicely, then,
he's mansplaining.
Oh, well. But at the same time, there's money on the line. You got to bring that kind of energy this guy brought to that, or you're just like, what are you doing? You know, it's not a regular casual or even competitive mode like you're at home. You're playing for money.
Right, and like this comment reads, how effing soft. And he didn't even say a single truly toxic thing. I guess the only thing that you're basically
really just
saying is
the facts.
just how aggressive he's getting after every L. I think that's a real thing. That's how gamers talk when we lose matches. But how do you vibe with this,
it's a pep
gamers?
talk, all right? It's them saying, you know what? We know this is a skill issue, but this is how we're going to fix it, all right? We're going to be on the same level if you listen to me for a second here.
Clearly not all the teammates are for locker room talk. And hey, that's just how it goes when there's money on the line. So how you guys vibe with this? Do you feel like he's in the wrong, or do you feel like the teammates have some justification to oust you from the group? Let us know what's good. But let's keep things rolling because a game developer just went viral for staring at the charging cable and thinking, how has nobody done this yet, HenricK? I mean, boom, it becomes a bow and arrow. So let's go ahead and show it up on screen because it's called Charchery. And yes, I would say, HenricK, that this name kind of come across a little cringe, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I mean, it's just a play on words, Chris.
Yeah, but it's still bad wordplay. But hear me out. You plug it into load, you yank the cable to fire, and suddenly you're charging your phone. Feels like a mini game instead of a chore. Because I know with my boofy iPhone, I don't think my arrows are always going to be shooting. I can't seem to keep the thing charging at constant time. You know what I mean? You always have to monitor it every 20 minutes and be like, wait, why aren't you charging? Oh, God. Oh, gosh. I'm going into
Don't
work
have
with
that problem
no
on my phone.
Ah, look at you, Pikachu. You always try to catch them all, baby. But this is where, for you, the gamers, is this a genius innovation or just proof that the developers will turn anything into a game. And so let's go ahead and check out the gameplay for Chargery.
You know, I will say it's unique for sure.
Yeah,
I don't know if
definitely.
it's worth. There might be some problems, we'll say.
Well, it's a lot cheaper than a controller, I will say that. You know, you
That's
could get a
true.
3-foot cable for about $6.99, but from there, that's where the gamers chimed in. And, you know, the first one says, that's going to kill a lot of cables and or charging ports. Terrible idea. So,
Yeah,
I mean, my
that's
iPhone's already having
exactly what I
problems.
was worried about is, you know, you plugging in that cable, you have a finite amount of times you can do that before it gets damaged in some
But you were
sort of
just
way.
flaunting your whole Android phone. I mean,
Yeah, but you know what? I wirelessly charge my phone, so I never actually plug it in.
But you can't play it. You can't play it. You can't play it. If you're doing wireless, you can't.
Do I really want to play
shoot?
this game, Chris? Come on.
Unless you're doing like you're stacking on top of your wireless station. You're like, not necessarily very immersive after all, now that you put it like that. Yeah, right.
Like that.
Unless you put it over your shoulder or something and you're like resembling the pole, I guess. And then the next comment is, phone company's going to love this because it sells chargers and new phones more. So very innovative, very much working for the corporations.
True. Yeah.
Very well done. But then again, you know, you're also going to get comments that say, amazing idea and gimmick, horrible for the user. But I'm not going to lie. I mean, when I saw it, I kind of wanted to at least try it one time. But
I mean, like I said, it's a unique idea. No game's done that yet, from what we understand.
It is pretty wild. And that's one kind of gaming accessory. But get this, there's a new game out there, and Blade Song just sharpened its way into early access. And apparently, your 3D printer is now an official gaming accessory. And you can craft katanas from over 150 parts. I mean, you can tweak every little detail, as you can see on screen. And then poof, one click and your digital blade becomes a real-life plastic sword. I feel like this is something that I would have loved as a kid growing up. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I'm looking at my 3D printer right now. I'm like, oh, that actually is pretty cool.
But then again, I don't know if my dad, you know, growing up destroying how many computers now with the Windows 98? How many viruses did it put on it? Maybe he wants me to stay away from 3D printers, even when I'm a young adolescent to an adult. I don't know. This is not my world with the whole 3D printer thing, but I feel like this is so insane. And so, gamers, is this the future of gaming bleeding into reality, or have we officially turned our gaming desks into a blacksmith workshops? And so, let's go ahead and check out the gameplay.
You know, this might actually be pretty fun to do as you're like trying to get into 3D modeling for making the 3D printing files.
Excellent point. Yeah.
You know, that can be a little complicated. So this is an easy entryway into getting like the experience of still making your own files, but you're not like going through the software to do so.
Yeah, I can only imagine even in the 3D printing world, there's got to be some kind of like shady websites you don't necessarily know where to go to. Obviously, people are kind of selling their STL files to, you know, bring, you know, cool Spider-Man or Deadpool masks, you know, to your living room, and then you can print it on your own. But the fact that this is coming from a video game and allowing the opportunity to all that hard work that you crafted in your little digital space into the real world, wow, what a time to be alive. And so that's where comments come up. And the first one reads, the 3D printing aspect is very neat. It would have been nice if this was just an aspect of a larger game, though. Going out into the field with your newly crafted weapons would be a lot of fun. I think everybody can agree to that. I mean, that would be really wild
that would
if
be
Elder
like the
Scrolls
next
6
step
maybe stole
for
this
sure.
idea.
Yeah,
or maybe Pokemon already patented it already.
Dragon Bone sword, and then now you can actually print it and have it in real life.
But you're like, I could have swore it was a lot tougher in the game than it is in real life. Every time I swing it, it just seems to snap apart. I don't know what's going on. But then you get another comment that reads, at first I was going to say stupid, because that's how I feel about most simulators. And then I saw the STL file export support. That's actually cool as hell now. I would agree, because, sometimes, every once in a while I'll open up that, like, car mechanic simulator, and I'm like, you know what? I feel like it's my time to finally understand that looking at cars isn't just a foreign language, because I don't know jack shit. And then I jump into those games, and then they're so overwhelming that I don't go anywhere, and I log out within 20 minutes. Have you had that same experience with simulators, Henrik?
I would actually say I don't play a whole lot of them. So
there you go. And why? Why hasn't it drawn you in for the long run?
Into? Well, when I look at, say, like a farming simulator, I get that there's an appeal to it of like, oh, maybe I can experience what it's like to be a farmer. All right. Well, I can also do that. But you're already doing that in
Stardew Valley, right? That's just so funny. How did my telekinesis just like kick in? And I knew where you were gonna go. That is hilarious. The last comment is, I think it would be sick to have a game like this ported into another major medieval game, and as a result, it allowed you to forge complex weapons in one game and then sell them to players in the other game. I don't like the whole idea about selling. That's kind of lame. Let's not have that idea.
That's unnecessary.
No. Yeah. Let's not do all that. But I do think that would be really, really cool where if this is further explored in future run-ins, why the hell not? I think that would be so freaking badass. So go ahead, wield your katanas, wield your swords. We want to see them here on Rage Quit. But man, we can't thank you, the gamers, for always tuning in live every Wednesday night at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, because without your support, gamers, this show would not be possible. And so go ahead, like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you never miss a live show.
And you see that QR code, go and give that one a scan. It goes to my YouTube channel. Go watch some videos while you're at it. Let me know how I'm doing, all right?
That's
More things will be coming.
And the cauldron is only just brewing. Are you ready to rock and roll, HenricK the Wreck?
Oh, yeah. Grab your sword, lift it to the sky like you're He-Man, because we're talking about High Guard.
Let's get it.
Hey everyone, this is Pause or Repeat. Here we figure out whether a game is really worth your time and money. Today's game is High Guard. High Guard is a new game by Wildlight Entertainment, a studio consisting of some ex-Titanfall and Apex Legends developers. The game is a live service raid shooter, and it's trying to push the envelope of what a shooter can be. To break down a match, you'll pick a warden, a character with some special abilities, a loadout, and queue in with 2 other teammates in a 3v3 fight to destroy the other team's base first. To get to that point, there will be stages of the match from reinforcing, gearing up, grabbing the shield breaker, and finally, raiding. But now the question still stands. Pause or repeat?
All right, Chris, I know you've played Apex Legends, you've played Overwatch, you played Valorant.
That's
Does
right.
this not look like just a mix mash of all that?
Oh, yeah, absolutely, HenricK. I mean, I feel like High Guard is what happens when a hero shooter and a raid game and, let's say, a fantasy novel all get locked in a room and agree violence is the solution. So you're going to be, 2 teams of 3. They're going to drop into these massive mythical map, and then you're going to build a base. You're going to loot the land. You're going to steal this magical sword, which I love that you said it like before the segment kicked in, He-Man. And then from,
it reminded me of that, though.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. But, as you're, trying to fortify the wall, there's a little bit of Call of Duty Zombies aspects a part of this as well.
A little bit, yeah. Yeah.
And so whether did you just kind of run into the abyss? Because I know that was my first fault. I wasn't caring about my base. I just was running in, and that never worked out on my first run through the game.
I did take the instructions to heart. At least the first 2 games I played, I was like, all right, we will reinforce the base where I think that they'll come in, and do every little step in every phase as they told me I should. Then I kind of realized something, Chris.
What's that now,
right?
HenricK?
So when you reinforce the base, it only prevents them from being able to go up and knock it down with their axe. But
Right.
if they have a rocket launcher, it doesn't matter, Chris, and everyone
That's
can
true.
get a rocket launcher.
Well, you know what's even amazing about this, Henrik, because I played it on my PS5. I even, they have
Mhm.
their whole trophy system on there. I was surprised to see so many players jump into high guard and not even do the tutorial. It's literally at the
That's
time
true,
when I
yeah.
jumped on the first day, it was like 6% of the people completed the tutorial. So when I jumped into the game, I had some of the worst teammates playing this game, and then a lot of them didn't have
Sounds
a mic
about
on.
right.
And that can ultimately kill the entire experience around this game because it's
Yeah.
very much kind of like capture the flag kind of a style. You know what I mean? Like, you need to have communication. You have to be like super glue with each other. You can't have just like one person out of the three drifting on trying to do their own thing, and then you're just going to get ransacked over and over again, especially in this kind of raid style kind of game.
Yeah, especially when you have all those different phases. If you don't know what phase is what, you're gonna get lost. And
Right.
like you said, you do have to stay with your team because if one person gets caught out by the other team, they're probably gonna die. And now you're 2 against 3. And
Yep.
because you're only 3 people, if one person dies or even 2 people die, like that is a huge detriment to the rest of the team's power, just simply because one person is a third of the team's power. So
Exactly.
yeah, it is very much a team game when it comes down to it.
Yeah, you really can't go drifting off and being like, hey, I'll come back and I'll go and do my thing. It's really important to really kind of solidify your base so it's like really protected,
Yeah.
build up the walls, take the time to go out there, and then you're going to go run out. And the first thing I would recommend is you got to go get that armor. You got to go get that armor, go try to find some cool guns. And then, like, what did you think about the whole idea about those blue crystals all throughout the map where, like, basically it's almost like a little bit of like a rhythm mini game where, if
Yeah.
you nail it the first time, then it's going to destroy a blue shard on the next one that you want to get. And then so you're collecting these shards to basically go to a shop vendor in game to be able to purchase stuff, which that was kind of very unique in a sense.
Yeah, it is definitely unique, but I would say after the novelty of it wore off in the last it lasted a few games, and then after that I realized something, Chris.
What's
So,
that now?
when you're going and doing these looting phases, it really is just a buffer in between team fights, right? And
Yeah.
you don't really have a huge benefit over the other team for looting and doing the whole mining of the crystals and going back to the vendor because everyone is on the same playing field when it comes to the upgrades. As opposed to a game like Apex Legends, there is a reason to go out and loot, and it's because you're trying to get loot that other people may not have yet. You're trying to get the
Right.
higher armors. You're trying to get the
That's a good point.
higher ranking attachments for your guns and things like that. You don't have that sort of enticement to go out and actually loot. So when you realize that, you're like, well, now this is kind of just like a minute and a half of me wasting my time.
That's
Because I
actually a
could
really,
be,
really
could
good
be
point.
instead just fighting the other team. I feel
Right,
like.
there's no real high risk reward, which high
Yeah.
guard, high risk reward.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's actually a good point. I did, that I did kind of find myself noticing that as well, where it was like I said in the beginning, I didn't find myself like running to go find guns right away. I was like, I want to go find all the armor. I'm gonna move really, really fast on my mount and get things rolling, and then mounting. I think that's a really important phase in this kind of style of game. And what kind of really sold you on it? Was it the bear? Was it the horse? Was it the panther? I mean, when I saw the panther, I was like, that's it. That's my go-to. I only liked it because it looked cool. I didn't really care about anything else.
Hey, you can't really beat riding a bear. That's for sure, though, I'll say.
Yeah, that's definitely
that
right.
is cool. I do appreciate that they put that in. And they had to put it in at the same time, though, because the maps are so big.
Massive.
And that is actually another down point for it at the end of the day because of the fact that they're so big, and it's only a 3v3 game. Like,
Yeah, with the two teams, 3 versus 3.
Yeah, I almost feel like there should be either another team or just bigger teams for bigger fights, and I say that because there's games out there even from 25 years ago. You'll look at a game like Tribes 2. That game could support up to 128 people in total in the match. And it had huge maps as a result of that. But that meant that everyone who was playing on the team of 64 people could decide, all right, I'm going to, do some base defense, or I'm going to just be support, or I'm gonna go out and actually try and capture the flag, or destroy the enemy generators, things like that. And you had really cool objectives on top of that. Whereas with this, the only objective are these generators inside the base that you have to get into the base to get to. And
Yeah.
I feel like they could have done so much more with it, where they just didn't. If you
I
kind of
do understand what you're saying. I have seen some of those comments online where like some people are like, well, shoot, Concord had more game modes, and why didn't a High Guard provide that? It is a free-to-play game. You don't necessarily, yeah, you can pay for cosmetics and stuff like that. Yeah, they have their own little battle pass that they're going to be forming with this kind of style of game. But maybe, so do you feel like that was a bad idea from the developers to kind of slowly roll this thing out? Because that's how it felt when I was playing the game. I immediately felt the same thing. Man, I wish there was at least 4 teams inside this style of map. Maybe teams can join together to go after another group. You know what I mean? What if there was proximity chat in the game? It's like, no, don't go to my base, bro. Let's all get this fool. They're all gaining up on us. They're getting all the
like
points.
That would be
Let's
some
go
cool
after that
interactions.
guy. Right,
Yeah.
and then it's like, becomes that kind of thing where like people I know are clowning a little bit with Arc Raiders introducing that squad versus solo, but that's where that kind of element can kind of kick in a sense, and it's like,
Yeah.
wait, why are all these mounts coming after us? What did I do? And then that can be kind of a funny experience, and yeah, I think that's what's kind of missing about the idea about assembling a crew. I think you can assemble teams throughout it, but I think it's also important to let the gamers know too, HenricK, that High Guard features 5 large open world maps, like from the frozen high vertical mountains of Summit to the the ruined desert settlement of Dustline. And so players get to choose from 6 different base types, which you can include, Hellmouth, Fortress. There's a multi-level Smuggler's Den that I seem to like because I want some high ground. But was there any map or base that stood out to you, HenricK? As like a go-to
I'm gonna be
favorite?
real, Chris. None of them really stood out to me, unfortunately.
Really?
No, and part of that was because they recommend a base per the map that you're on, and I feel like I ended up on the ice map a lot. I'm forgetting the name of it right now off the top of my head, but I ended up on the
Summit.
ice map a lot.
Yeah,
Summit. That's what it is. But it feels like, yes, the choice of having a specific kind of base layout is cool, but at the end of the day, when the gameplay isn't really facilitating that choice really mattering, like I was saying, anyone can grab a rocket launcher, and by the 3rd round of looting, you're going to have a rocket launcher that is going to for sure kill any of those walls, even if they're reinforced. And at that point, it doesn't matter what layout it is.
Well, even
because
some
if
wardens
anything,
have
that
the
layout's gonna
abilities
make
to
you
knock out
confused on
walls.
where people are.
That's a good point. Yeah, and like maybe the walls need to be like a little bit more solidified in game, because right now it kind of seems a little easy to knock them down even with just a gun or just walking over and just doing a little melee punch. I think that is definitely a legit argument that a lot of gamers will say about this kind of style of games, and I feel like the developers are listening to that, and that could easily be fixed through a patch note. But lore wise, I don't know, High Guard lives at that like sweet spot where it's epic enough to like feel important, but it's loose enough to let you like ignore it while blowing holes in the walls. Like I get it, they're gonna try to hype you up like magic is dying, except not really. You have magic abilities. So like that didn't necessarily make any sense. And like everyone's using it, to smash bases, and then you're gonna summon the siege tower. And I don't know about you, HenricK, when I first saw the siege tower, I was like, what in the Twin Towers? You know what I mean? It was like something like that. I was like, this is kind of cool.
Yeah, I mean, a scenic piece like that is pretty cool. Yeah, I will admit. I'm not going to say that that's not cool, See this huge siege tower come and smash a dome open.
and then you're a warden. You're like basically a magical mercenary, and then you're going to be, fighting over territory on this cursed continent that just won't stop spawning these storms and the swords, and then that's where I'm curious on your thoughts on this, HenricK. I mean, did you actually, care about the lore in this game, or do you feel like what really only flexes is the fact that you have these 8 wardens, and each with their own abilities, that are designed to really just annoy the other team?
Well, it is an interesting concept for a story, as minimal of a story as it is, as of right now at least. And they could take it in a lot of really cool ways if they
Apex
decide
Legends
to.
was a little late to the party, mind
Yeah,
you.
yeah.
They had to start doing those comic strip things that
Yeah,
everybody stopped reading after
exactly.
a while.
Uh, I I did get a little bit of the feel when looking at the visuals though that things are a little not bland, but they kind of mesh, like they meld together
Mm,
a little bit too well, especially when you're in the middle of uh or actually when you're on one side of the map and you're looking to the other. Things there are landmarks, but when you're trying to find something in particular, it's maybe kind of hard to see what you're looking for if it's another person, and if it's in the middle of a fight and there's a lot going on, you might actually be even more lost because of how many things are going on, and visually they're not distinct enough to separate themselves. And I have heard maybe part of this also is because of the way that the game is rendered, at least on PC,
mm.
where it actually kind of lies about the render resolution, and as a result ends up being a little smudgy. I'm not sure if it's the same issue you had
Not
on
so much, but
console,
I
but
did have certain teammates be like, it was kind of hard to find the blue shards, but then like it's like really they're like they stick out, but they meant from like a distance, and I noticed like sometimes
yeah.
when it turns into like a night style kind of a map, yeah, the blue shards are gonna kind of glow a little bit easier for the visual eye,
Mhm.
but I think that was a visual cue that they were trying to bring different aspects to this open world combat. But I'm kind of with you, HenricK. I mean, when I was thinking about High Guard, it looked like those like fantasy paintings used for those 80s prog metal band album covers. I mean, it was like wide open landscapes. You got the towering
Yeah.
bases, the glowing storms in the sky, and those mounts charging through gunfire like they didn't read the danger memo. That is 80s prog metal for you. So yeah, I
Yep.
thought that was
Yep.
really, really cool. But then like let's talk about the whole shield breaker phase. I mean, that is, I would say, is where the game reaches that peak stress. I mean, you're gonna grab the sword, everyone's gonna start panicking, and then suddenly the entire map is gonna agree that you're the main character and you must be stopped. And so did you feel that stress when you were possessing the shield breaker?
I mean, yeah, you're marked on the map. It's basically like you're carrying a big sign saying, "Hey, please kill me, please."
Yeah, yeah.
But at the same time, if you're able to coordinate with your team, there's actually not a whole lot of danger to actually just running up to the enemy base and then planting the shield breaker in their dome and breaking it open to go into the raid phase. Uh, there maybe needs to be a little bit more of a gameplay mechanic to prevent that, I feel like. And
Oh,
actually,
okay.
maybe there being more people to have to contend with rather
Yeah.
than just three people defending the base. That actually would alleviate that because the base has a lot of land to cover. And I believe there's like three different points where you can go insert the sword. So if you're able to just juke the team real quick and they get busy fighting your teammates, you can just run to another one and just pop it in there real quick. And then
Yeah,
they can't do anything at that
I
point.
think that's a good point because if you leave the idea of like the 3 versus 3 and you maybe expand the teams to be a little bit larger, like I don't know, 5 versus 5, maybe that might
Mhm.
warrant some players to be like, hey, I'm gonna stick back towards the base and defend the base while building up the fort. So we're really protecting it so they don't come in and
Yeah,
start, bombing the shit out of our base, right? Maybe that
exactly.
would bring it because, like, I know, like, they'll even notify you in the game. It's like, hey, they're about to attack your base, and then you can do like a quick, respawn back to the fort and then really go
Hmm.
all out. But maybe they need to get rid of that and then make it so. Like, why are you so far out over there? You need to run back with your mount and get back to the base and protect it. And I think, people want to love this game, but it's not quite there. And I know it's getting a lot of flack right now. I know Jeff Knightley is like, with the famous meme with all the swords on him. Like, why me? Like, why is
Yeah,
everybody going after
yeah.
me? I feel like he was just trying to do something cool for one of his, buddies in the scenes. And I mean, clearly this is the guys that, started, Titanfall and Apex Legends, but then weirdly decided in their gaming description on Steam to remove that. I don't know why. I mean, the
Hmm.
game looks like Apex Legends in a sense, especially when you're holding those guns. But maybe Apex Legends doesn't want to be associated with this game anymore. I don't know. But it's bold. It's definitely weird. And quite frankly, it's a game that won't be for everyone. And if you
Yeah.
ever wanted a shooter where I would say planning matters, the destruction is personal, and then mounting is like a legitimate combat strategy, then maybe this is the one worth saddling up for. But, as the future holds with this kind of game, we'll have to see. But at this time, I got to be real with the gamers. I always do on Pause or Repeat. This is a pause. What do you say, HenricK?
Yeah, I gave it a fair shake and, played quite a few games. And it didn't click with me. Some of the things, like I spoke about some grievances of the phasing phases of the match. Some of the things like that and the size, it feels like a regression from what this game could have been, and it could have been so much better. And the unfortunate thing now is it's out, and there's a certain perception of it. So even if they fix it, it's probably not going to get the same player count that they would want.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be one of the people who's not going to be playing it again. So yeah, it's a pause
Yeah,
for me also.
and the battle pass doesn't really swindle you to even want to come back to earn more, even though they give you the first one for free, and then it's like, hey, once we move on, you're gonna have to pay for the next one, and it's like, I don't know, especially when you're playing a lot of those in-game matches and you're not really getting rewarded enough of those. I forgot what they're called, the purple coins. You could be 40 minutes into a match and you're like, that's all I get, something like 70 to, it's definitely under 100 of those purple coins, and you need 400 just to get one item. So you're like, they need to fix that balance. It's not going to swindle people to want to come back. That's just my personal thought on that. But we want to hear from you, the gamers. Are you vibing with HighGuard? Do you feel like this is the next frontier in video games where they're bringing something new, refreshing, and quite frankly, are we just bitching about something that we have come on, guys, give it a little bit of breather. Come on now. It's only been less than a week. We want to hear from you. Let us know what's good. But we got a lot more left to discuss here on Rage Quit Video Game Talk Show. So, HenricK the Wreck, are you ready to rock and roll, my friend?
Oh, yeah. Bring out those ledgers, because we're just going to be talking about some budget cuts and all sorts of stuff from the industry.
Oh, man. Let's dive on in. What's good, listeners? Welcome to Patch Notes, where my co-host HenricK the Wreck and I discuss gaming news, industry talk, and so much more. Let's get it. Ubisoft just hit the corporate reset button like it tripped over a power strip. I mean, how many times have they done this now? I mean, tie your shoelaces. Holy cow. But they're canceling 6 games, shelving 7 more, closing studios, and quietly sweeping new IPs into the recycle bin. Maybe we should label this thing for maybe later, HenricK? I don't know. So, Ubisoft, it was once this really beloved company. I still like to think that it's held to that high standard. But now they have a future plan is open worlds and live services, which is corporate code for bigger maps, longer grinds, and a shop tab that never sleeps. All overseen by 5 shiny new creative houses, which at first players, it would sound cozy until you realize that the house 1 is reserved for the billion-dollar franchises and everyone else is fighting for couch space with microtransactions for the pillow. So does that sound fair? Does this sound like a future that you would stand on, HenricK?
I think I'm good.
I think we're all good. And so that leads us to the gamers. Is this a smart survival pivot, or Ubisoft putting all its chips on the same table and hoping nobody flips it? So let's go ahead and dive into the comments with the first one that reads, remember when Leaks said it would be Shadow Drop this month? Well, they were sort of right. With the follow-up comment that reads, dropped off the face of the earth. So when you kind of hear these kind of style of news, where do you feel like the company is trying to shift other than just live service games?
Things that they know will at least make some money, maybe break even, or at least that will be more likely to make money. Things that they, they're saying, are going to be, live service. If they hit one really good live service, they'll basically pay for a bunch of other failed projects, things like that.
It's really interesting that they want to go down this like live service route, especially with how Assassin's Creed's latest game, Shadows, it was like we're just removing season pass, in the middle of it all, a lot of backlash. I just think it's wild that they think that like, I think we really got this nailed down, that we could scale back on everything and really get this company back into bringing in that mucho dinero for the company through microtransactions. Okay, we'll see how well that all works out. But then you get comments like this. I'll bet Sandfall Interactive and Claire Obscure were a big catalyst over there, seeing a couple of the former employees leave Ubisoft and immediately make a beloved and award-winning game while speaking out about how Ubisoft stifled them has to be quite an inspiration. Hopefully, we're all better off for it in the long run. And like HenricK, for a lot of the gamers that might not know, one of the creative leads for Sandfall Interactive used to be a former project lead for Ubisoft, I believe it was back in 2020. And they basically voiced out that they weren't taking enough creative risks. They felt they were bored. They felt like they were doing the same old thing. And so, like, we need to protect what we already have instead of developing something new.
Well, that's what I was saying. It was like really Ubisoft is trying to go more for the safe route of things that they know make money, that bring people out of the woodwork and be like, oh, another one of these games. Okay, yeah, sure. I'll buy into the hype at least for a little bit. They have to win back some people at this point, I feel like, but even if they were to bring back like any Assassin's Creed game and be like, yeah, we're doing this, I think a lot of people keep their eyes on it just to see how it goes and hope that it goes well. So they're probably going to go and do that. They're going to, look at their IP that they have and say, we can bring this back that we know is going to make some money at least.
And that's where I feel like this comment really basically lays it all out for everybody that's tuning in live to Rage Quit Video Game Talk Show. And let's kind of go through it, HenricK, because Ubisoft is being restructured into 5 creative houses. Creative House 1 will be responsible for scaling Ubisoft's largest franchises into annual billionaire brands, okay? These are the quadruple A video games, and this includes Assassin's Creed, Rainbow Six, and Far Cry. And HenricK, do you feel like out of any of these 3, does one of them stick out as a billionaire brand, or is like when I looked at Far Cry, I don't like. Is it there? Like, I know that they're banking on a TV show, but like I don't know if like a lot of people were very, Giancarlo Esposito, whatever, being a part of it really made it so it was like, wow, this is at the grand scale of things. Like, I didn't get that vibe from the last game, but clearly Ubisoft thinks so.
The only one out of those that actually could maybe be considered that would be Rainbow Six, and it's only
really, you did not Assassin's
Rainbow
Creed?
Six Siege. Well, I say this only because Rainbow Six Siege is their cash cow, so
okay.
It is the one that actually could have made them that much money.
Yeah, you're like digital physical copies or something that's going to be a little bit more reoccurring. I get what you're saying with that. But then you also get Creative House 2 will focus on competitive and co-op shooters, which apparently encompasses Ghost Recon, Splinter Cell, and The Division. So maybe that's where that gets dropped into, though. And then they're only going to have so much finances to work with. That's the thing. It's like, obviously, Creative House 1 is where everyone would like to be, I'm assuming. Or maybe that's the only place where it's like, you don't get creative risks. You have to stick with the model of the house. And then you also get Creative House 3 will maintain select live experiences. The games listed here are Brawlhalla, The Crew, Riders Republic, For Honor, and Skull and Bones. And then let's keep it rolling. We also got Creative House 4 will specialize in narratively driven games, namely Rayman, Prince of Persia, which they did a remake and then they canceled another remake of the remake. Okay. And then, they also get Anno. Is that how you pronounce it? I've never played that game before. And Might and Magic and Beyond Good and Evil. And then the last Creative House, which is number 5, which will handle the more casual, family-friendly experiences. They'll be responsible for Just Dance, Hasbro, collaborations such as Monopoly and Uno. And man, wasn't Hasbro in the news with the whole Magic the Gathering? People are upset that they're printing more cards.
Yeah.
Holy cow. And then the majority of Ubisoft's mobile games, which we discussed about a couple weeks back with Halifax Studios, being closed. And so they've also did confirm that they have 4 new IPs coming, even when they canceled some new IP that will probably never surface unless some salty developers like those a-holes canceled my game. We were so deep into the magic. And then the last comment here that we got is Ubisoft stock has fallen over 92% in the past 5 years. That's from above 80 euros to around 6 euros. That's
not good.
Really take that in, gamers. Like, that's kind of wild when you look at that chart. That's insane. If you don't believe us, go look it up right now. Google it, as Kurt Signetti would say, right? You Google me. And so, HenricK, by canceling new IPs, closing studios, and betting everything on Assassin's Creed level brands, is Ubisoft securing its future or just shrinking it?
Well, it really feels like they're just shrinking it, but that it might actually be, at least hopefully, a good move for them. Because if their scope of what they were trying to do was just too broad, maybe them actually scaling it back lets them focus more on things directly. The things like they're saying in the, I want to say, first 3 creative houses, things people would actually pay a lot of money if they did another one well. Like,
right.
I'm sure if they went and took Assassin's Creed and said, you know what, we messed up, we're going to make an Assassin's Creed for the fans, what the fans want, people will come back. They have to do that. They have to bring people back, because at this point, when people hear of an Ubisoft title, they roll their eyes.
Well, remember they were going to do a post-Civil War game that apparently is not going through anymore. There were reports that there was going to be a launch for an Assassin's Creed Black Flag remaster, and now it doesn't look like it's going to be launching anytime soon, which people were anticipating it was going to launch before March 31st.
Might actually be better that they don't do that one, at least, though, because they might have actually taken Black Flag and ruined it, so...
Yeah, and then
but
there's also reports that 3 of the canceled games were new IPs, while 1 was a mobile game. And we kind of clown the whole idea about turning, Assassin's Creed into Funko Pops for a mobile game. Like, really, what the hell are we doing? Like, you're completely
really
killing that $1 billion brand.
Nobody
wanted that.
Nobody.
And so, when you start to hear that Ubisoft's core focus going forward is really about what the company has said will be an open world games and live services. I know some people have been kind of wanting a little bit more linear style games. Maybe that's where the new IPs can take a little bit of that kind of gamble, and if they feel like that is the best way forward for Ubisoft, only time will tell. I feel like that's really what's going to have to happen. And so, we're going to have to see what's good. And we want to know from you, the gamers, does focusing on billionaire franchises and live services rebuild stability or quietly erase the creative risks that made Ubisoft matter in the first place? Let us know what's good. But all right, HenricK the Wreck, what's the latest drama to reach the courtroom that players need to know? Break it down.
Well, Valve is in a legal hot seat, facing a $900 million lawsuit.
Ooh.
$900 million. That's a lot of money. Yeah. And they are accused of running Steam like a PC monopoly, or basically a monopoly, but every hotel is theirs, and you can't play unless you pass Go, and also pay 30% on everything that's sold.
We hear
there
this all the time.
Take that cut.
Right, everybody always hates those kind of style cuts.
Didn't Apple get into some big legal trouble about that?
Exactly.
Sort of
Wasn't that kind of something that Epic had a problem with, and how they had to use their whole
exactly.
developers kits and stuff like that? Yeah, go on, HenricK.
Yep. So the claim is they've been strong-arming developers, locking games into Steam exclusivity, and making sure your wallet gets a proper workout every time you click buy DLC. So gamers. Is this a long overdue check on Valve's empire, or is just the cost of living in the world's most expensive digital arcade?
Yeah, man, that is something to ponder on. That is for darn sure. And let's go right into the comments. Let's set the tone. So the first one is, fair few people in here clearly didn't open the article. The lawsuit is from an individual who works for a company that constantly tries to sue Steam, with the comment that reads below, oh, well, then, okay, if you say so, then F him then. Is that clearly like the stance that we stay on? Like, I get the whole idea where like some people might have a problem with like exclusivity because it seems like we've been moving away from it other than Nintendo. You know, they clearly want to keep their Mario Kart within the platform, nowhere to be found on the PC. But what also kind of comes to mind is Alan Wake 2. Remember, that was a big thing that was being pushed on the Epic Game Store, and I know even Embark had they had to basically discuss that at a later time and go, hey, we've always liked our partnership with this. Do you see that being a problem where certain studios decide where they feel might be the best launch place for their video game?
Well, it's actually interesting you bring up Alan Wake 2, and there's other examples also, like Dead Island 2, a couple other games that I'm sure I could go find out if I went and searched. But those are the two that come to mind where they launched as Epic Game Store exclusives, and it actually hurt their sales, heavily hurt their sales. And the reason why is because there's a perception of the Epic Game Store that you only have it installed to get your free games and leave, or play Fortnite. That's it. If you're going to actually buy a game, you're going to buy it on Steam. Where the entire rest of your library is. It's actually so bad to the point where even if a game is being given out for free on the Epic Game Store and it's not bought on Steam, more people will buy it on Steam just to have it during that period of time when you're giving it away.
And nobody wants to see a monopoly, but we always do have those conversations every once in a while that everybody is annoyed with these PC gaming launchers. And I also want to correct myself, too. I actually said that Alan Wake 2 was made by Embark. It's not. It's Remedy Entertainment. So I don't want nobody clouding me online like, man, this fool has no idea what the hell he's talking about. My apologies. Sometimes we slip up live on air. But, like, let's keep it rolling because this one was a very standout comment. I'm not even a Valve groupie or anything, but literally every other online store, Epic, GOG, Xbox, PlayStation, does the exact same thing when it comes to DLCs. Seems frivolous at that point, at least, with the follow-up comment that reads, here's the thing. They don't. I play multiple games on Steam, and you can go directly to that games company store and buy stuff from them. It will then be on your Steam account. This is a BS lawsuit. And then ending with another gamer that reads, just yesterday I upgraded to the Ultimate Edition for Honor. Had it on Steam, bought the upgrade over Ubisoft, and all of it works just fine. So what is this all about? Is it about Steam taking a 30% cut, or is it part of that lawsuit is going to be lost by the courts and the players and the gamers when they're saying that's not what they're doing, though? You have to be a little bit more correct about what you're trying to accuse the company of being.
Yeah, this feels more like whoever is in charge of this lawsuit is trying to find something, anything that they can get on the whole platform of Steam and bring that to the courts. And if they somehow win, then, lawyers make a ton of money, and they're going to take a huge cut from the lawsuit of $900 million. So, yeah, even if you participate in this as one of the people saying, yes, I defend this lawsuit, I want my cut back from Steam, you're only going to get like $10, dude.
Yeah, pretty much. And then what is stopping a competitor from opening GOG, Epic, physical media, etc., and charging less? Users value the services enough to prefer Steam, enough that selling on Steam is a huge source of their sales. So selling elsewhere cheaper only isn't a good business move. I don't like monopolies, but I have voluntarily chosen Steam every time I've bought a game for like a decade. I tried the other stores and they had issues, and I'd love that I could share games with roommates without paying extra. And then for a smaller publisher, it opens you up to millions of users that you can directly sell to their front page. For a huge publisher, it is an inconvenient cut into their profits, but it protects the user from their shitty tactics in return. Does that make a good point that, this is only helps the indie scene when you have a large player base that likes one marketplace And yes, you have it's not like they're only one place to go to launch your game, right? Or place your game at.
Yeah.
You have different opportunities to go. But then I got to read you this, HenricK, because even Epic boss Tim Sweeney also chimed in and saying, on some transactions, Epic wins. On more, Steam wins. But one thing is constant on every transaction. Gamers and developers win by having more options and better deals. Does Tim Sweeney have a point?
Yeah, I mean, having options is definitely not something that I'm going to say is ever a bad thing. You know,
Yeah.
if you're going to launch your game on Steam, there's no detriment to launching it also on the Epic Game Store, for example.
Yeah. I feel like it would be a problem if Valve and Steam were like the only place for PC gaming. Then you would be like, wow, maybe we really do need to have an overall conversation about what this whole means about this whole 30% cut. That definitely feels like a legitimate argument. But then the last comment reads, it claims that as Valve requires users to buy all additional content through Steam, if they bought the initial game through the platform, it is essentially locking in users to continue making purchases there. GOG, Epic, PSN, Nintendo Store, and Xbox Store do the same thing. This whole thing is ridiculous, and I'm not even a Valve fanboy man. With the follow-up comment that reads, just like the whole only food and drink purchased on the premises can be consumed here for hospitality places. Why should Valve allow someone to buy a game on their store during a sale using DLC items bought elsewhere? Something to kind of sit and ponder on a little bit. But HenricK, should players care how a game is made or how it feels when they hit the play button when it comes to these kind of places that you go when it's a PC gaming launcher?
Well, this is a situation where really the players and their wallets are what speaks volumes. And when you've had the Epic Games Store and GOG and the Origin, or I guess it's now EA Games app, you have all these options on PC for people to go and buy their game at. It speaks volumes when everyone still treats Steam as the place to go buy their game for real. Because it's just the best platform. It's not necessarily because of the fact only that it's maybe the place where everyone has their games, but not only do they have some really great sales a lot of the time, and it's one less thing to have to download. And here's the thing, guys.
Yeah.
A lot of you guys are also, like, I'm talking to the developers and the publishers. A lot of you guys are bundling your launcher in with the game anyways. So when I buy, say, Titanfall 2 on Steam, well, guess what? I still have to have the EA Games app installed, because it has to run in the background.
Has to run through the background. And like, hear me out, HenricK. I mean, there's a lot of gamers that always hate the idea of having to pay $10 for the upgrade version, especially when it's like a PS4 game going to a PS5 with like fancier graphics. Cough, cough. Last of Us Part 2. I mean, holy cow, really? Like, that should have been provided to us. But I feel like we're starting to move towards a different era, especially when the Steam machine starts to launch, that maybe more companies, especially PlayStation and Xbox, might be more willing to start thinking about an idea where if gamers want to say, I don't know, $20 more, they can pay so they can be able to play that same game across multiple platforms. But then we also get Zachoman Gaming with a comment that says, Steam just has it right. The user experience is relatively seamless. Epic Games sucks. And don't get me started on EA. So there you go. I mean, HenricK was also referencing that. It is annoying when it's like, really, I got to launch all these things and it's just running up my RAM and, and memory on the PC. Yeah. It's like, holy cow, this is becoming a bit too much. But like, do you feel like that's where the future is going to start going, where it's like you're going to have the option on your PC to be able, especially I keep talking about this whole cloud gaming services. Like, if you're going to start purchasing digital purchases, will it only be tied to a future PS6 or a future Xbox console, or forget Nintendo, they're never going to join the party. They're in their own space. But like, do you feel like that could be something that's a reality? Because I'm starting to think that, the more I start hearing about people going after companies like Steam and Valve for saying, hey, not everything is going to be purchased through you guys. We want it to be diversified so we can play it on all frontiers.
And that's actually a push, we'll say, with Xbox as one of the bigger examples that they're trying to do. And you
Yeah,
can see
play
that
everywhere.
in how, like, now in that Xbox app, you can put all your games in there. It doesn't matter if they're from the Xbox store or if they're from Steam or if they're from Epic. You can just put them all in one place because they want you to just be in their app in the first
Yeah.
place to get their ads. And, maybe you'll buy something from the Epic Games Store. And if, especially if you are a Game Pass subscriber, they want you to stay on that Game Pass.
For
Because
sure.
that is a monthly recurring charge that you're paying them every month. And yeah, you don't necessarily own the games when you do that, but you kind of don't also own the games unless you buy them on GOG at the same time, which is an argument people can make. But I would say still people consider buying something on Steam more ownership than cloud gaming at the end of the day.
I'm with you, HenricK. And so, tell us, gamers, is Valve abusing its Steam monopoly or just running the PC storefront like every other platform? And are you okay with this? Let us know what's good. But let's keep things rolling because gamers just pulled off the equivalent of a raid boss takedown as Stop Killing Games initiative smashed past 1.2 million signatures and kicked the door of the European Commission wide open. And so you could see with all the countries that got involved with this, the goal was simple. When the publishers stop supporting a game, they don't get to quietly pull the plug, toss it into digital purgatory. No. And that's where, players, we have to really think about this. Should owning a game actually mean it stays playable? Or are we all just renting pixels with an expiration date that clearly maybe we need to start reading those user agreements in the end. So let's go ahead and dive right on into the comments. Amazing news with the follow-up comment that reads, hope it creates a better future so many bad decisions from the past regarding preservation and availability came back in the last decades to haunt us. And ending with another gamer that reads, there are several dozen at least games I wish I could play today that I just can't because it's physically impossible. These range from a niche like Atlas Reactor to silly Concord. Hopefully in the future that number will start to go down. HenricK, did you see what was circulating online where Monkey Ball is now able to be played on a website?
Oh,
Did you see that going
yeah.
viral? I mean, that was like, I tried it out. I am shocked. But then again, why am I shocked? We could be playing Doom on a PDF file. Like, It is just insane to think that there are like so many different avenues to start figuring this out, even without a European Commission.
Mm-hmm.
And I know a lot of
so many games that you just, are locked behind, whatever reason, whether they have been a live service that got taken down like Anthem, or it's just behind a shitty DRM from the early 2000s like any of the Windows Live games.
And we're a little bit more protected here in the States, you know what I mean? Like, I remember last year we discussed, a man from Italy who was basically just a YouTuber that was just talking about emulators and being able to kind of help gamers be able to revisit some of those past games that they all loved during the retro era. And to see that the law came down on him, I feel like is a part of the reason why a lot of people in Europe are like, whoa, hold up, pause. Just because the server goes down, like, why does that revoke me from being able to play my game offline? How is that fair on me when I gave my money to you? Make it make sense. And so that's where, we get another comment that reads, love to see it. And from what I understand, a fairly low rate of signature invalidation for a European citizens initiative. Hopefully they can keep the momentum going and get some actual change. But like, I don't understand that comment. Like, how could you say that when they literally just surpassed the goal? How is that a low mark when they literally just passed it? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean 1.2 million is not a small amount of people signing something.
It's climbing as we speak. I mean, this guy. But then that's actually a huge number, regardless of where people stand on the details. This clearly shows that there's a real and growing concern about game preservation and ownership when over 1 million players take the time to sign something like this. It's not just noise anymore. It's a signal that the industry can't ignore, with the follow-up comment that reads, they can and they will, bullshit, but that's the world we live in, unfortunately. The only solution is to hit them financially. Stop buying games from shitty publishers, even if that means not buying games at all. See, I don't know if I quite vibe with that last comment, HenricK, because a lot of the problem was no one saw that coming. No one saw that coming, especially with like the crew. They're like, what are you talking about? When I first bought the game, this wasn't a conversation. So I don't understand where someone could stand on that notion. Like, hey, man, just figure it out on your own, gamers, who the shitty publishers are. What? Where do you stand on this?
Yeah, it's such a bad thing that we bought into, especially at the turn of the century. And we're now really paying the price for it. And people are starting to realize, hey, maybe let's not buy these games that are going to eventually die off. Or if we do, let's fight for it to stick around in some sort of initiative like this.
Well, let's
And
say
it
like
is
this. I
nice
know
to
you're
see.
not the biggest fan of all this cloud gaming stuff. I know I am.
I'm not.
for sure. But you like to buy your digital assets. You would think if this doesn't get moved forward, this would make gamers not want to spend money on video games. That could be a major risk for a lot of studios to even want to develop these high-end games. Because remember, we talked about it all last season. You know, like, holy cow, we're getting these reports that, you know, Sony was spending over $200-300 million on, you know, Horizon Forbidden West and The Last of Us, and the list goes on and on and on, especially Call of Duty. I mean, holy cow, $500 million? I'm sure they're loving what's pulling in all that money for Black Ops 7.
I think when you look at those games that you've listed, like Horizon Forbidden West, that game's going to stick around. And I say that because it doesn't have a live service element that's going to eventually shut down, and then now all of a sudden you can't play the game.
Not
it's
yet,
a single-player game. You're right.
You know?
But is this more relevant for like a game like, we'll say, Apex Legends? What if in 10 years from now, the game is no longer around and you want to play it? Well, too bad. You can't play it because they shut down the servers. Okay,
yeah.
well, what if I still want to play it? Well, then you got to see if some community effort was made to support the game by the community, and that might not have happened because a lot of these game developers don't want you to do that.
That's
There's
a
no
good
legal
point.
recourse for that.
That's like,
So,
it's like, oh, Halo.
Yeah,
Can I play Halo? Well, we're going to do a new combat involved. You have to play it there. And you're like, no, I already own the game. Why do I have to buy a new one for fancy graphics? I like the nostalgia. Well, you know, the servers are done.
And that
We're
is the
moving
thing
on.
they do also. They say, you know what? We're remaking the game so you can no longer buy or play the previous one because we're going to shut down the servers for the old one.
Right. And then we get this last comment that reads, I generally hope policymakers take the Stop Killing Games initiative seriously, because this isn't really about gaming. It's about digital ownership and consumer rights. When you buy a physical product, the company doesn't get to come into your home and take it back just because they stop supporting it. Yet, digitally, that's effectively what happens when games are shut down or the servers are turned off. Even though people paid full price for the access, Stop Killing Games may get dismissed as a, you know, just a niche gamer movement, but the number of signatures shows that this is a much broader concern about whether consumers should retain access to the products they purchase, regardless of a company's future business decisions. And at its core, this is about treating digital purchases with the same basic expectations and premises and ownership that physical purchases have had for decades. And I'm with you. But, you know, it's funny because we're only kind of like talking about games like The Crew, and I just wonder, like, let's say when there's a time when, let's say, Fortnite doesn't reach the hype anymore, and you paid all that money into cosmetics, and they always have a revolving door of new maps coming in. And if they shut down the servers, we never get access to the old maps. We just have to hope and pray that they give us the one that we liked. So, you know, I don't know. Fortnite probably will never die, but I'm just saying, you never know. You never know. Never say never. But HenricK, if a publisher shuts down a game you paid for without, you know, providing an offline mode, should you be entitled to a full refund, or is the service you paid for considered already rendered?
That's the whole thing people are trying to figure out, because when you look at, say, like Fortnite, for example, you paid for the cosmetics because it's a free-to-play game.
Yeah.
So they could, at least right now, legally say, well, the purchases you made were delivered, and that was it. You don't get any recourse, no refund for the purchases you made, nothing like that. Just because we shut down the servers doesn't mean you're going to get anything out of it. And, some people are okay with that and some people are not. And I'd say that there definitely is some real fine details about it that would need to be figured out, because it's like, I think more people would be acceptable of not getting refunded of something maybe they bought like 10 years ago, maybe, compared to something they bought like 6 months ago or 2
Right.
years ago even. But yeah, it's something that has to be figured out, because this is just the age we live in, and eventually things are going to end up shutting down.
It's almost like
and
when
we
you
have
see with
nothing
like
to protect the consumer.
Well, it's almost like how like in the United States with like the public domain, right? After a while, it starts to not be retained by the company, and it's basically open access, right? That's how we get a new Mickey Mouse shooter game, for example. Maybe they need to come up with something very similar when it comes to video games, right? Like the minute it. I know it's going to upset people because they're going to be like, what, Chris, that sounds like a terrible take, because like 75 years from now, I'm not going to be playing that game. I don't know. Some of us are still playing Pac-Man, and I don't think Pac-Man ever thought that they were going to live this long or even see a board game version of the retro cabinet arcade come to life. So something needs to be worked out. I'm glad to see that, Europe is fighting on the front lines to see if they can, protect us and the rest of the world from being able to retain the video games that we purchased. I feel like that is a right that every consumer has. And to just wrap it up for everyone watching, with the Stop Killing Games initiative hitting its goal, we're at a turning point. Should a game purchase be a permanent ownership right that guarantees playability forever, or must we accept a future where we're just licensing pixels that can't be revoked at any time? Let us know what's good. But all right, it's that time of the show, HenricK the Wreck, where gamers they definitely love new IPs, but Reddit is calling for something else. Break it down.
Yes, Reddit cracked open the group chat energy and decided some game franchises need a full memory wipe, like blowing dust out of an old cartridge and pretending the last 10 years never happened. we know some of those chats in the group chats, they never happened.
Yeah, exactly.
Suddenly, everyone's a creative director pitching do-overs for beloved series that feel like they've never been patched, stapled, and duct taped over the years.
Yeah, right.
So, before we check out the comments, let me toss it to you tuning in. If you could hit the big red reset button on just one franchise, which one would you think deserves a clean slate and a second first impression?
I like this. I like this discussion. I can't wait to see what gamers have to say on Reddit. So let's dive right on in. The first one is Assassin's Creed. I'm a little shocked. Like, really? Like, how do you do a hard reset on Assassin's Creed? That just sounds ridiculous. Like, what? Do you have a
Maybe
suggestion?
That's what they need, actually, though, Chris.
But how do you do that, though? You know what I mean? Everybody's always
you
calling for Desmond to come back.
You throw away all the previous stories. You throw away the Animus stuff.
But they do that every time. Oh, you're saying get rid? Well, that's the core of Assassin's Creed.
You throw it away. You rebuild it. You rebuild it as a different concept.
Okay, if I was in the creative space talking about Assassin's Creed and we're like, hey, we need a restart on a new beginning for the Assassin's Creed franchise, maybe they need to take us on the outside, not so always in the inside. You know what I mean? Like, maybe we need to see the corporate world of the Animus and fight in there, and maybe have some guns, and then we switch in the blade. Maybe. You guys can call me later.
Yeah.
Ubisoft. And then the next one is Turok. Yeah, I mean, it does seem like there's a lot more dinosaur shooting games starting to pop up. I know, actually, might as well say it. I just thought of it right now. What about Dino Crisis? Everybody's been calling for that.
Yeah,
that would be a great franchise where you can really, really hit the reset button. We need more dinosaurs in games. I need a dinosaur to ride in Highguard, maybe. Maybe that's what it's
missing.
That game
Code Violet wasn't for you, Chris?
Well, I haven't necessarily jumped in yet. I can't wait.
But I heard it was not great.
Uh-oh. That was a must-play game that we suggested, and someone's going to tar and feather us now. Uh-oh. And then the next comment is, Pokemon, please give me a simple game with a new set of Pokemon that is self-contained and doesn't feel impossible to, quote-unquote, catch them all. Nah, that's lame. What do you mean impossible to catch them all? That's the whole point about it, man. We used to have to whip out the cord, you know, if we wanted a
I
certain
don't think that they would want to throw away all the character designs that they have.
Yeah,
That's the
I
thing.
think they can definitely, when you look at this, it feels like, yeah, no black and white. We don't need nothing like that for Pokemon. But they can, like, at least, like, turn it a little bit, like, 3D-esque. You know, like, people have been doing that 2.5 HD kind of style of look. Well, I guess that's the right side for you. But they could revamp it and repackage it to give it to a new game. But this is calling for a whole new restart. I mean, I guess we did move on from Ash Ketchum, like, last year. They do need a new face. But who's going to be that new face? And if there is a new face, I can guarantee you right now, there's going to be a lot of Pokemon people that are going to be upset. A lot of people that are upset. I feel like this is a really hard franchise to hit the hard reset button. Well, let's keep it rolling because the next one is Rainbow Six. Like, what story is there now? And does it all make sense anymore? I'd rather it start over by going back to its roots as a tactical strategy FPS game where you had a pre-mission briefs and layouts to look over and plan. Plus, keeping the story quote-unquote grounded like the older Rainbow games were, I'd say, with a modern setting, would help redirect back to the Tom Clancy first. We don't necessarily know, you know, as we were reporting earlier in patch notes, what games were canceled, but there are rumors afloating that Tom Clancy Splinter Cell was one of them. You know, maybe they were hoping that the hype with the anime show was gonna, you know, build up this kind of core following where it's like, yeah, you know, we have been missing this. We do need this. But didn't seem like people tuned into it really. Not a lot of gamers.
Yeah,
and then, you know, and then they're like, you know what? Why write story when we have live service? Isn't that their reset? Focus away from the story and do a hard reset for just multiplayer only?
That is what they want to do, yeah.
Yep. And then the next one we got here is, I would love a brand new world for World of Warcraft, like a sequel that borrows on old themes, but with new classes, spells, and etc. With a follow-up comment that reads, yes, but what about World of StarCraft?
Oh.
Does that sound cool? I don't know.
It does sound
Calling
cool.
for a friend.
But knowing Blizzard, they might not. Well, one, they probably wouldn't want to do that, and also
Yeah,
they
it seems like they would never. Yeah, exactly. They're like, I don't think this is like a. They're not in the same universe, and they're like, we don't even want to associate it anytime soon, because if we do that, they're always going to expect that story and lore to always intertwine with the game. So we like the passion, but I don't think that's quite there yet, I would say. And then the last one goes Half-Life. Just delay the 3 further. They're like, just give us any kind of Half-Life. We don't need the main character. We don't need to care about his story. Maybe you could drop it in little mission logs that we have to pick up and read, and then maybe we go, ooh, maybe there is something to this. I don't know. But these are, you know, not bad choices. I was thinking there'd be a little bit better ones. But then again, HenricK, what video game series feels so tangled right now that a full reset is the only way forward?
You know, I'm actually going to throw you a curveball here, Chris.
Okay, let's hear it.
Because I know this would never actually be made unless they were to bring back Kojima. But I'm going to say Metal Gear. Or Metal Gear Solid specifically, because there's that technical difference between the two. But yeah, Metal Gear Solid as it is right now, like that series, if it were to come back, would probably need a reset just to continue the story. But
move away from Snake?
Probably... maybe move away from Snake, or
wow, that's a bold take.
Keep him in, but do a different world that he's thrown in.
Just like Sophie Turner with Tomb Raider. She's like, this is not a sex bombshell no more. That's like throwing in a female protagonist, and you're gonna have like people bringing in their pitchforks and flame torches and stuff like that. I'm always cool for something new. It's like, let's judge it by the time we play it, and if you don't like where it goes, you don't like where it goes. But I didn't think about that, but you got me thinking now.
But Kojima would probably have to come back for it to be possible and actually be good, because
they need that leadership
really
direction.
Spearheaded that whole direction that the story went in, as wacky as it is. And if it were to not bring back Kojima and just come out, people would be mad.
What about the Order 1886? Does anybody remember that game? I had a blast playing that game. I remember it being like really, really short. Yeah. It's a very fast
it was a very short game.
It's a very short game. It's very fast, but like I feel like enough people would like to see. Well, this wouldn't necessarily, I was about to say sequel, but I could see people loving to go back to that style of gameplay, go back into that universe, and we'll see. But that's kind of my suggestion that kind of pops up in mind. But then again, what would you like to see, gamers? Is there something out there that really goes, man, I would really love for my favorite franchise to just get a total reset tomorrow? Like, what would be that game? What's the one thing that just absolutely they cannot mess up this time around? Let us know what's good. But man, like we said, this was a jam-packed show. This is a little bit longer than we normally do, but we can't thank you, the gamers, for always tuning in live every Wednesday night at 6 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, because without your support, gamers, this show would not be possible. And we just want to go ahead and shout out our QR codes again. Hit the notification bell so you never miss a live show. This will lead you directly to the Chris Collins Show.
And this one goes to my YouTube channel, where there's tons of content, so go watch some videos. Let me know how they are. Suggest some videos if you'd like. I'm watching. I'm reading. So
let's
I'm
get
there.
it, baby. And thank you guys. I hope you guys and girls have an amazing rest of the week. Conquer, seize the day, and we will see you next week.